everybody. I hope you guys are doing very well. My name is Suyukti Seth, and I shall be taking your session today exclusively on the top, the most hot, the most asked idioms and phrases. But before I walk you through that entire journey of enriching yourselves with the idioms and phrases, I'd like a confirmation as to my audibility and visibility. So if you could please write in the chat box as to whether I'm audible and visible, and if that's a heads up, we will begin with no further ado. But first, I'd request कि आप जल्दी से प्लीज chat box में लिख दीजिए कि आपको एकदम clearly सुनाई दे रहा है और एकदम अच्छे से दिखाई दे रहा है कि नहीं. So I'm just going to take a peep in the chat box and come back. And if all of those both of those two things are taken care of, we will simply begin with a very power-packed session that we have for you, which is all about, in fact, idioms and phrases. So I can only begin once I have a heads up. So let me just go, see and come. And in the meantime, I hope you guys are geared up with a pen and paper because there might be a lot of writing that you might want to be doing today. Okay, so I still don't have a confirmation, but I'd really like one. So if you could just write in the chat box, please, as to my audibility, agar aapko dikh raha hai aur sunai de raha hai, if both of those two things are in order, please let me know, because only then can I begin. Otherwise, what if the horror happens wherein I go for the next 40 minutes and that you're not able to hear a thing, right? So I'd really want a confirmation, please. Anybody who feels generous enough, anybody who feels that, maybe a heads up might just work, even a thumbs up is going to just work fine. Okay, I'm just going to peep and come back. Okay, still nothing. Guys, please just write in the chat box. We do have a lot of concurrent viewers right now, but I have gotten no confirmation. So if I could please just get that, we will begin with no further delay. Okay, I still don't have. Anyways, well, I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed then and think that all things are in order before I begin. So let's just start with what is it that we have. Now, if you would have seen the previous year papers, this is something that you will agree with me when I say, and specifically, idioms and phrases have found their way into the types of questions that are asked. Now, in all of these examinations, English does play a very important role. In fact, it happens to be the very breakthrough that you need to be onto so that you are able to qualify for the exams. Now, is this list going to be exhaustive? No. I have picked up the top 50 phrases and the top 50 idioms that go alongside your prescribed syllabus and that you must know. But vocabulary is always mammoth. Vocabulary हमेशा बहुत ज़्यादा होती है. तो कहीं से भी ये नहीं बोलते हैं कि बस इतने 50 में हो जाएगा. Also, is there a guarantee कि ये 50 आप इन्हीं 50 में से आपसे पूछेंगे? Not again. But is there a guarantee that इनमें से नहीं पूछेंगे? Not again. Which is why there is this rumor that goes around with vocabulary, and that is vocab is always a gamble. आप कितना भी ज़्यादा words याद कर लो, कितना भी ज़्यादा idioms याद कर लो, do you think you can learn all? A, no. Second, is there going to be a guarantee? No. Can there be a probability? Yes. So that is the kind of approach we always tend to be having whenever we tend to be doing vocabulary. So today, I am going to walk you through 50 very, very popularly asked or anticipated. That is one thing that these are going to be asked idioms followed by phrases. Now, to make your understanding simpler, what I have also done is हर idiom के बाद हमने एक sentence में उसको use किया है ताकि आपको पता रहे कि how to remember it in the long term. अच्छा, एक और चीज, vocabulary cannot be done in the conventional mugging up manner. तो आपको अगर लगता है कि याद कर लेंगे और सारा कुछ हो जाएगा, vocab doesn't work that way. Now you have to make sure that you're being as interactive as possible with vocabulary, because जितना ज़्यादा आप in sync रहोगे vocabulary के, उतना ज़्यादा likelihood है कि you are going to remember the words and their usage as well. This entire PPT that I have made has 10 idioms that are representative of the previous year papers. That is, those have been taken from there, and all the idioms that have been chosen have been in line, have been in tandem with the kind of idioms that have been asked. Again, guys, I say this out loud, there is no guarantee. It's just that you should know. However, the more you know, the better. Vocabulary is always a style quotient. तो जितना ज़्यादा हमको पता रहेगा, not only from an examination point of view, but otherwise also. क्योंकि good articulation में हमेशा phrases and idioms का बहुत ज़्यादा usage होता है. One tends to find a lot of usage. And if you know, or if you have a good bank of vocabulary, all things compiled, then you will always be a couple of steps ahead of the other people. And with that, I think we can begin. So what we're going to be doing today, guys, is going to be 50 idioms and 50 phrasal verbs that are going to cater to the law officer's examination. So you do have a couple of notifications and circulars that are out already. So those are the ones that we are going to cater to. Again, please understand they are not limited to it. Now, beginning with, of course, hi champs, here is where I come with your list of idioms and proverbs and of course phrasal verbs that are most popularly asked in, say, the RBI law exam, the SEBI legal, the NICL EO, or the IBPS SO examination, etc. So these are going to come in handy for all of these examinations. And why do we need to know this? Because often हमारे पास idiom आता है तो हमें लगता है कौन सा Morse code चल रहा है मार्स से, ऐसे लगता है कोई लीगल jargon दे दिया हम लोगों को. But that's not what it is. Idioms are a very beautiful, they're a very symbolic, they're a very metaphorical way in which आप idea को दिखा सकते हो. Why? Because idioms have a definite meaning to themselves and they have a very comfortable vibe to themselves as well. जो अच्छी writing करते हैं वो हमेशा बहुत idiomatic expressions को use करते हैं so that the ideas are given out better. So in today's session, we will try and in a fun and a very interactive manner cater to 100 of those. Now, today we are going to break down 50 idioms that are going to be our deliverables, 50 phrasal verbs. In total, it's going to be 100 power-packed expression that are either featured in the last year papers or they must be the ones that should be on your radar. That means you must be knowing of these. So we will clearly mark the ones that have been asked in the paper, the ones that you need to know, and that is how the entire flow is going to be. And with that, I hope you guys are geared up. You guys are ready to decode the word list that we have for today. Now, starting from the first 10 that have been asked previously in the papers. Now, they are extracts from the past year papers, beginning with climb up the worry wall. अब हमेशा guys याद रखना, idioms के साथ literal meaning नहीं होता है. They will always have some sort of symbolism. So a lot of times हो सकता है आपको idiom का मतलब नहीं पता हो, but अगर आप उस word का symbolism ढूंढ लोगे ना कहीं से भी, so it will be very easy for you to be able to know what it is likely to mean. So now over here, you're going to climb up the wall of worry, right? So there is a wall of worry, but you've climbed it. Climb कर लिया मतलब आपने उसको पार कर लिया ना. So the meaning of this is to succeed despite obstacles. कितने भी आपके अड़ंगे आए, आपने फिर भी उसको succeed कर लिया. So the market climbed the wall of economic worry. So the market went high, the market went bullish, even after the kind of economic turbulence that happened. Next, to cut corners. So to cut corners basically means to do something poorly to save time or money, right? जब हिंदी में नहीं बोलते ऐसे चिंदी बना कर रहे हैं हम लोग. That is what it is. Why? Because या तो time बचा रहे हैं या तो पैसा बचा रहे हैं. And in that manner क्या होता है, कुछ बहुत ही shabby सा, बहुत shoddy सा काम कर देते हैं. So don't cut corners on your legal prep. So this is also one of the disclaimers that has come along. Keep at bay. Bay is always used for distance. So to prevent something from coming close, you're keeping something at bay. All negative vibes must always be kept at bay. जिस तरीके से बोला जाता है. This is not BAE वाला bay, the one that we use. This is BAY. It is like the Bay of Bengal. So it's the area that we're trying to be talking about. So daily revisions keep anxiety at bay. Break a leg. Now break a leg, as much as it sounds very physically atrocious, but that's not what it means. Break a leg is always a good luck sign that's been given. So interview tomorrow, break a leg. So congratulations, good luck are in order. Hold water, it means to be logically sound. So when you are not speaking any nonsense, it's the kind of thing which is pretty rationed. It's coming out with a proper justification. That is what becomes of holding water. So his argument didn't hold water in court. So anything that is not going to be logical and that it was illogical is how it came out in the court. Next, face the music. You're not listening to the music, guys. You are facing the music, which means you are ready to accept the consequences. Consequences are going to be जो गलत या जो भी उसके repercussions है वो आपके पास आ रहे हैं. So he had to face the music after missing deadline. Deadline miss हो गई तो अभी क्या होगा? अभी consequences तो होंगे, उसको झेलना तो पड़ेगा ही. Next, in hot water is always trouble. So if it is a hot situation, if it is a hot water, it will always signify some sort of danger, because hot as of a word in idiomatic expression and with a symbolic meaning does not have anything very fancy to offer. So the officer was in hot water after the RTI query. RTI की query हुई और उसके बाद उस पे बहुत ज़्यादा trouble आया. That is what the idiom hot water means. Pulling strings, it means using influence. So if I say I'm going to pull some strings here, which means मेरे जितने भी जान पहचान के लोग हैं, जितने भी hot shots हैं, जितनों तक मैं अपना जितनों तक मैं अपना लगवा सकती हूँ, how do we call that, जितना भी हम लोग अपना connection लगा सकते हैं. So that is what is meant by pulling the strings. So he got that internship by pulling strings. So which literally means that he made a couple of calls and one thing led to the other, and that is how he got the internship. Burn the midnight oil. School से बचपन से ये पढ़ते आ रहे. To burn the midnight oil, of course, is to work late and in a very hard working manner. So when your exams approach, you automatically start to burn the midnight oil. So she's burning the midnight oil for this case, which means she's working very hard and she's working very late. On the same page. So if everybody is on the same page, it means you are in agreement. Everybody is in consensus of what is being talked about. So let's ensure we're on the same page before we file this PIL. So that means everybody should be in agreement with one another. Now, those were the 10 previous year idioms that had been asked. Now, let's very quickly take a look at 14 new idioms that you must know, that should be in your repertoire, and these are the idioms that you can't negotiate or bargain with at all. Let's begin. A blessing in disguise. So blessing in disguise means something good that seemed bad at first. तो लग रहा था कि गलत होगा या खराब होगा, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Disguise is छुपा हुआ, right? So actually में तो एक बड़ी अच्छी सी चीज हो गई. So losing that internship turned out to be a blessing in disguise. और अगर आपके exam dates थोड़े postpone हो गए तो that could also be a blessing in disguise. लगता है कि यार क्यों हुआ, but फिर आपको और preparation का time भी तो मिल गया. So that's how it is. A dime a dozen means very common. एक चीज 12 चीज अगर एक डाइम में मिल जाएगी. अ डाइम इज द शॉर्टेस्ट करेंसी. सो अगर एक डाइम में 12 चीजें मिल जाएंगी तो सोचो कितनी कॉमनली अवेलेबल है. उनका कोई मार्केट वैल्यू ही नहीं होगा जितनी सस्ती मिल रही है, राइट? सो फेक लीगल एडवाइस ऑनलाइन इज अ डाइम अ डजन. जो इतनी मामूली कॉमनली मिलती रहती है. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Now this is an idiom which means visuals explain better. So sometimes it's not the way your articulation is, or it's not your description that actually gives out the real expression. It's the picture. So when I say the picture says 1,000 words, the picture reality बताती है. वो इतनी सब चीजें बता देती है शायद आप अपने मुंह से भी ना बता पाओ. So the CCTV footage said it all. The picture is said. Picture said 1,000 words. तो सीसीटीवी जब देखा तो सारी असलियत पता चल गई और किसी को कुछ बोलने की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. Actions speak louder than words. बचपन से again this has been ingrained in us. I think this is one of the ways in which parents and teachers tend to morally police us also. So what you do is more important than what you say, because it is the actions ultimately. आप कितनी भी लंबी लंबी promises कर लो, but until it doesn't show in action, it's not going to be something that's going to work around. Now he claims he's honest, but actions speak louder than words. But then honesty उसकी हरकतों में दिख तो नहीं रही है. All ears. When you're all ears, which means you are listening with complete attention. So listening intently. आप intention से सुन रहे हो कि हाँ भाई मुझे तो सामने वाले की सारी बातें सुननी है. So I am all ears. Tell me your strategy. मैं एकदम सुन रहा हूँ. I'm not at all distracted. Please अपनी strategy बताओ. Next. Back to square one. Back to square one का मतलब होता है you come back to your origin, point of origin, जहां से आपने स्टार्ट किया वहीं से. So when you're back to square one, generally यूज किया जाता है when सारी चीजें फ्यूटाइल हो जाती है, बड़ी अनप्रोडक्टिव हो जाती है, and you go back to the beginning. That is what it is. So the argument collapse, you're back to square one. तो हम लोग आर्ग्यूमेंट कर रहे थे बट कुछ खास हुआ नहीं. नाउ वी आर बैक टू स्क्वायर वन. फिर से स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा पूरा आर्ग्यूमेंट. बीट अबाउट द बुश. सो बीट अबाउट द बुशेस, मुद्दे पे ना बात करके पूरे गिर जगह की बात करना. So to be able to avoid the point, you talk about everything which is not important, but just miss the point that is the most. Stop beating about the bush and give your reasoning. So Stop evading the topic, stop going round and round about it, and just give actually what the correct reasoning is supposed to be. To bite the bullet, it means to endure something that is unpleasant. So you not just you've bitten the bullet. It means you've taken in the the unpleasant situation that's going to happen, and now you're ready to bear the consequences. So she bit the bullet and accepted the harsh feedback. So she was ready. She went head on. She's like, okay, fine. I'm just going to listen to whatever it is. By the book, something that is by the book means it is to be followed very, very strictly. So that the judge ruled strictly by the book. So by the book is letter of law, right? Something which is done just exactly as per the rules and the regulations tend to say. So as the book says is what is by the book. Call it a day. So when you're calling it a day, we're ending work. So that's when tata bye bye. Everybody's had a good day. Let's meet tomorrow again. So after solving 5 papers, I called it a day. So I was done and dusted with. हो गया मेरा, मैंने पूरी practice कर ली. अब अगले दिन मिलेंगे. Come rain or shine. Come rain or shine का मतलब होता है regardless of any circumstance. So come rain or shine, बारिश हो या धूप हो, चाहे जो हो, हम तो करेंगे. All weather रहना उसमें, right? So he revised daily, come rain or shine. Now, as of you guys also, the IBPS is coming up, and you have to keep practicing come rain or shine. So obviously that will have to be done on daily basis. Cry over spilled milk, right? अब जो हो गया उस पे रोने का कोई फायदा नहीं है. So complain about something that can't be undone. You can't put the milk back, right? It's done. What's done is done. So that is what it means, that if it has been undone, there is no reason for us to crib over it anymore. No point crying over spilled milk after missing the deadline. Devil's advocate. Present a counterpoint for argument's sake. Now, devil is always the evil person. Now, if you're the devil's advocate, which means you are, of course, at the wrong end of the situation. Now, when you become a devil's advocate, it means you're trying to do a parvi for that person also. So when you're trying to give a counter argument which is futile, which has no solid backing to itself, but you're doing it, why? Because it is for the argument. So कुछ तो बोलना है, तो चलो यही बोल देते हैं. So let me play the devil's advocate for a minute here. Down to the wire, it means until the last moment. So you're down to the last wire, last strand, which means it is to the very last moment. The judgment was awaited till down to the wire. Until the last moment, it is narrowed down, it was not out. Get out of hand, it becomes uncontrollable. जो चीज आपके हाथ से बाहर चली जाए, जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं. So that's pretty much what the meaning of it is. The debate got out of hand in the courtroom. So things are no more in your control. Things that are in your hand are definitely in your control. Hit the nail on the head. So when you've hit the nail on the head, that means you've struck on the exact right opportunity. So it is to be exactly right. So she hit the nail on the head with her reasoning. So appropriate, apt, on the point is what is hitting the nail on the head. Jump the gun, it means to act too soon. So a lot of times you don't listen to what is happening, you just tend to jump the gun, right? Which means you've already come to a conclusion without even knowing what has really happened. So when you act very soon, when you act very hastily, it is what becomes of jumping the gun. So the lawyer jumped the gun before the final evidence was presented. He didn't wait for the evidence to be presented. He's like, okay, chalo, abhi to mera conclusion aa gaya hai. Let the cat out of the bag, it means to reveal a secret. So whenever you let the cat out of the bag, or whenever you're trying to be getting the cat is going to go very loudly, in a very pitchy way, it's going to go meow. So that means everybody is going to hear it. And that's how this idiom has come, which means there's a secret that was in the bag and now you've just let the cat out of the bag. He let the cat out of the bag during the cross examination. So there was a secret, but then he, of course, flowed that information. Missed the boat, missed the opportunity. That boat was that one thing which could have taken you to another island or to the other side of the shore. But you've missed the boat, which means clearly you've missed an opportunity. So you'll miss the boat if you don't register today. No stone unturned. When you leave no stone unturned, it's an idiom of grit. It's an idiom of determination. It means that you are using every possible way to do that right. So the investigation left no stone unturned. You're doing everything in your capacity. Once in a blue moon, so blue moons are not a regular occurrence. The normal moon is. So if it is a blue moon, it is going to be very rarely. So such landmark verdicts happen once in a blue moon. It's not an everyday affair. It's just the kind of thing that will happen once in a couple of years. To pull yourself together. So if you have to pull yourself together, it means you have to calm down. That means you're gripped with anxiety. You're just all over the place. and that you have to pull yourself together, you have to be strong, you have to, not get so emotional or vulnerable, and that you have to react logically. So to be able to calm down. After losing work, she pulled herself together and started again. Sorry, after losing the mock. Something that really happened. So we always have to buck up. We have to get back in the game. And for that, we have to have the hope to be able to gather ourselves. Spill the beans, again, it is to reveal the secret. So again, the same meaning can have more than one idiomatic expression. There is no rule that says एक ही होना है. कभी to let the cat out the bag किया, दूसरा हम ये करेंगे spill the beans. You spilled it. The beans over here are symbolic to the secrets. So the witness spilled the beans during testimony. उससे testimony जब ले तो उसे सब जाके उगल दिया. Take it with a grain of salt. So something, salt always has a very it has a very salty taste, but again it has a very it has a very savory taste, right? So when you take something with a grain of salt, it means while all things can be very nice, you must take it with a grain of salt. That is, कुछ unfavorable हो गया या कोई चीज हो गई तो उसे बुरा मत मानना. So the meaning becomes, don't take it too literally. थोड़ा सा, take it with the spice that comes with it. So take social media advice with a grain of salt. You don't have to blindly follow it. It has to be something that has to be done with a slight discretion. The best of both the worlds, an ideal situation. So when it is the best of both the worlds, it simply means इसका भी अच्छा हो गया, इसका भी अच्छा हो गया. तो हर चीज आपकी जब अच्छी हो जाती है. Judiciary prep and internship, that's probably the best of both the worlds. Under the weather. So when you're under the weather, so whatever the weather is, in that the weather has had an effect on you, is how it is taken to be under the weather, which means you are feeling unwell. So she skipped the mock because she was under the weather. Up in the air. So when something is up in the air, it just means it is out of sight and that you don't know. You're just trying to make an assumption or presumption about it. So it means it is uncertain. It's the kind of thing, it's up in the air. So it's still not in your head. You've not been able to make sense of it. It's just looming. It's wandering like a cloud. It's just traveling. So uncertainty is what it is. The exam date is still up in the air, so no decisive decision has come alongside it. Wrap your head around, not literally, you can't wrap your head around, but symbolically wrap your head around is to be able to come together and be able to decide on a certain complex situation. So to understand something which is very complex. So it took me hours to wrap my head around the Companies Act. Difficult tha, time laga, but finally मेरे को समझ में आ गया. So I was able to wrap my head around. Your guess is as good as mine, right? So your guess is as good as mine simply means that I am no better. मेरे पास कोई ऐसी अनोखी knowledge नहीं है, मुझे भी उतना ही पता है जितना आपको पता है. So it means no better knowledge. So will the result come tomorrow? Your guess is as good as mine. So it means that I'm also guessing exactly what you're guessing. I have no intel, I have no data whatsoever. Hit the books. As the moment you have books in it, you know it has to be about study. So when you're hitting the books, you have to be studying hard. So final months before the exams, time to hit the books. Next, caught red-handed. So if you're caught red-handed, it means you're caught in the act. You're doing while that entire, master plan of yours was going on. So he was caught red-handed copying case material. उसी समय पकड़ा गया जब वो कर रहा था. Cut to the chase. Cut to the chase is ये पूरा ये जो wild goose chase चल रहा है ना यहाँ पे दौड़ाने का, इसको खत्म करो, मुद्दे पे आओ. That is what it is. So get to the point. Let's cut to the chase and talk mock strategy. सीधा mock strategy बात करते हैं, ये सब इधर-उधर की बात करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Go the extra mile. So you have not only gone the mile, you've gone the extra mile also. So extra कर दिया तो मतलब आपने कुछ और ऊपर से effort किया है. So do more than that is required. So she always goes the extra mile with her research. So she's always doing more than what is actually required. Throw in the towel. So if you've thrown in the towel, it means you've given up. That is, you've just surrendered, you've resigned, and that you don't want anything more. Never throw in the towel during the prep. So don't give up, keep going on to it. In the loop. So when you're in the loop, it means you are informed. So there is, of course, a chain of commands that's going, and you are in that loop, which means you will also be one of the party to keep receiving it periodically. So keep me in the loop on case development. So keep letting me know how the case development is likely to be. Next, level playing field. So level playing field means सबको एक जैसी opportunity आपने provide कर दी. So it is a fair situation. The paper gave everyone a level playing field. तो कोई बहुत easy, कोई बहुत difficult ऐसा नहीं था. सबके लिए एक ही जैसा paper आया था. Make ends meet. So there are two ends, you're trying to make them meet, which means you are financially trying to manage some way or the other. So he worked part-time to make the ends meet. You're trying to some way or the other just get together and get yourself financially through for the month. Off the record, so when something is off the record, now record is always official, so off the record is unofficial. That is, I'm not recording it, I'm not making note of it, but this is what it is. So this is off the record, but the verdict is coming soon. So this is off the record, we still don't know, but of course the verdict is going to be coming soon. Out of the blue, blue हमेशा unexpected या rare के लिए ही होता है. So out of the blue again becomes unexpectedly. So he got a call letter out of the blue. So expect नहीं किया था, एकदम से अचानक से वो चीज प्रकट हो गई types. Bend over backwards is try very hard. So you're bending over and that again backwards. So that means आप बहुत मेहनत कर रहे हो भाई किसी चीज के लिए. So he bent over backwards to help his peers. So that's again, you know, a lot like to go the extra mile. That is, you're putting in the extra effort. So these were the 50 idioms that you should be knowing as an aspirant for the IBPS and all akin examinations. What we're now starting with are going to be 50 phrases, the phrasal verbs. Now, what exactly is a phrasal verb? A phrasal verb will be identified as a verb which is followed by a preposition. So only a combination of these two can make a phrase. Now, very quickly, let's see what are the past year papers. What does the past year papers have to offer when it comes to the phrasal verbs? Again, phrasal verbs also have some sort of idiomatic or symbolic relationship or meaning to themselves. So make sure that you are again not going literally with the meaning, but again trying to understand what the meanings are. Let's go. Bring up. So when you're bringing up something, it means to mention. Right? Now brought up is bringing, but bring up is to mention. So they brought up the loophole in the court. Right? That was something that was brought to the fore. Call off when the meeting has been called off, it simply means it's been cancelled. The hearing was called off due to the strike. Given in, जब आप give in कर देते हो किसी चीज में, मतलब आपने surrender कर दिया, you're like okay, heads up, I give in, right? That means आपने surrender कर दिया, अब आपको उसमें और कुछ भी नहीं करना है. So he gave in after hours of negotiation. इतना negotiation है, finally उसने कहा चल लो भाई, सच बता दे रहा हूँ मैं. Turn up is to arrive. That is, he turned up, which means he's just arrived. So the appellant didn't turn up for the hearing. वो hearing के लिए नहीं आया. Put off is to postpone. So call off is cancel, put off is postpone. You've just put it off for another time, which means maybe another date, another day is when we will decide. So the judge put off the hearing to next week. That is going to be to postpone. Look into is to investigate. So the commission promised to look into the complaint. So you're looking into, which means you're trying to be finding out. Go through means to review or experience. So when you're going through something, it means you're doing a proper review and experience around it. So she went through the IPC before the interview. Take up is to begin a task. So you have just taken it up, right? So you've taken it up, that is, you've taken up the ownership, the responsibility of it. So the advocate took up the case pro bono. Break down, it means to stop functioning or lose control, which is why the cars break down, right? So she broke down emotionally after cross-examination. So that is again to stop functioning, or she just lost control. She didn't know what to do. रोने होने लगी. Drop out is to withdraw, which is why colleges से drop out करते हो. So he dropped out of the selection process, which means one wanted to just be out of that group altogether. So these were a few examples of the ones that have been asked in the previous year. Now let's start with 40 must-know phrasal verbs that we have. Back down. So back down means to withdraw a claim. That is, you're withdrawn, you're like, okay, I'm not doing anymore, I'm backing off, I'm backing down. So the lawyer backed down from the demand. Blow up is to explode or get angry. This is a little literal, so it's like blow up. It's been blown up altogether. So the situation blew up after the verdict. That is, it just blew out of proportion. It just got out of hand. Bump into means to meet unexpectedly. So two people are walking, one bumps into the other. That's literal again, you know, you bumped into, like bumping cars. So bump into is going to be to meet unexpectedly. I bumped into my professor at the court library. Carry on is going to be to continue something. She carried on presenting despite the objection. करते रहना उस चीज को. To come across is to discover by chance. Right? You've come, but you've come across it. So it's not something that you were expecting, it is by chance. So that by chance element has to be there. I came across a landmark judgment during research. Expected nahi tha, but ekdam se aa gaya. Count on. When you're counting on someone, which means you have confidence and that you wish to rely on that one thing. So you can count on mock tests for your prep. Something that you should definitely be doing. Cut down means to reduce. So cutting down is always going to be in terms of the reduction. That is, you're not having it in large quantities. So he cut down his screen time for study, something that we must all be doing. Deal with is simple, it is to handle. So if I say just deal with the situation, it means that I'm asking you to handle this. So she dealt with cross-examination confidently. Next, drop by. So if somebody is just dropping by, it's a very casual, it's a very friendly visit. It could also be unannounced at times, but it's going to be very casual. So my senior dropped by for a quick discussion. Fall apart means to collapse. So fall apart is when there is a disagreement and that there is no more harmony. So it is collapse. So her argument fell apart during scrutiny. That is, it had no substance. There was no truth in it whatsoever. Figure out means to understand. So you're figuring out. Figure कर रहे हो कि कैसे क्या है. आप उसका कुछ तो भी sketch समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हो. Is how it is. So it took time to figure out the clause. Fill out. Fill out is to complete, which is why you fill out the forms. Nothing new in this. So don't forget to fill out the application. Follow through. It means to complete the task. So you have to keep following and through karna hai usko. So through and through is always completion. So he didn't follow through with the prep. That is, usne puri preparation nahi ki thi. Go ahead is to progress. Obviously, it is get ahead or go ahead. So consistent revision helps you get ahead. Get ahead is logo se aage. Get along is to be friendly. So when two people get along, that means there's a lot of comradeship there. There's a lot of friendliness. So the interns got along instantly. Give away is to reveal, right? So if you've just given away the information, it means आपने secret थी या जो भी थे reveal कर दी, आपने disclose कर दी, आपने सबको बता दी. So his eyes gave away his nervousness. So his eyes visibly told us how nervous the guy was. Go over is to review. So go over is when you are just going to, vet it. You're going to go through it one more time. So always go over your answers. Hand in is to submit. So if I'm telling you to hand in your papers after the exam, so that means you're supposed to submit it to me. So she handed in her assignment early. Hold back is to restrain. So if I'm saying I'm holding back my tears, मतलब कैसे भी कोशिश करके मैं restrain करने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ. So he held back his anger in court. जैसे तैसे उसने कोशिश की. Keep up is to maintain. So keep up is always to be able to maintain whatever it is. So keep up your pace during the mocks. Let down is very common. It is to disappoint. So when आपके पास कोई आपसे बहुत उम्मीद रखता है ना आप उसको disappoint कर देते हो, that is let down. So she let down her mentor by skipping prep. Look after. So when you look after someone, it means you're trying to take care of that one thing. So seniors looked after the new recruits. Look forward to. So when you're looking forward to, you're anticipating, you're waiting with a lot of eagerness, which is why in letter writing also we say we look forward to your reply. So I look forward to cracking this exam. It's something with great anticipation that you're waiting. Make out is to understand. So if I say that I can make out what's happening there, which means I understand what it is. So I couldn't make out the handwriting, that is one could not understand. It was illegible altogether. Pass out is to faint or graduate. So you either pass out is, when there's a graduation ceremony, आपने इस class या college pass out कर दिया. It is also used in terms of faint when you're unconscious. So she passed out of law school last year. Both of those ways can be taken up. To put across. So if I'm going to put across an idea to you, it means I'm ready to talk on it. I'm ready to communicate. I'm ready to tell you what is it that I feel. So he put his views across clearly. Run out of. So when you run out of, it means it's exhausted. It's over. You don't have it anymore. So I ran out of time in the test. Setting up. Set up is to establish. So they set up a moot court team. So it is to bring together. Stand out is to be noticeable. So when you're standing out, it means you have an edge above the rest of them, which means you are, of course, noticeable. You've gotten all the eyeballs. You're in the spotlight. Her clarity made her stand out. Stick to means to follow consistently. So literally sticking to, you're like glued to that idea. So stick to your prep schedule is how it is always said. To take after. So when you take after something, it means to resemble. So which is why you tend to take after your parents. That means उसमें बहुत genetic resemblance है. So he takes after his mentor in logic. यहाँ पे logic का बहुत resemblance है. Talk over is to discuss. So let's talk over this and sort it out. So it means discuss करते हैं and let's come to a conclusion. Let's talk over the strategy. Think through. It means to consider thoroughly. When you're thinking through, it means आप properly pros, cons, एक deep down dive analysis कर रहे हो और पूरी situation को समझ रहे हो. So you should think before answering. Think through before answering. To turn down something means to reject it altogether. So she turned down the PPO offer, and use up means to completely use it, right? So to consume it completely. So he used up all of the prep time that he had. Next, to work out, of course, workout is gymming, but then that is to more, I mean, in literally sense, workout is always to be finding a solution. So let's work out on this plan, which means let's try and find out a way to be able to solve it. She worked out the answer logically. Zone out, so there's a zone, you're just out of that zone, which means you are not in focus anymore. Your focus has been lost, you've been distracted. So don't zone out during reading comprehensions. Again, a disclaimer, something that we often fall trap to. Zoom in on, so when you're zooming in on something, it literally means to focus. Comes from the calibration of the camera. Zooming in will always be to be focused. So zoom in on the argument flow. Iron out, so when you're ironing out, it means you're straightening out everything, which means you are ready to resolve. So whatever be the hiccups that one has, you've ironed out the details. That means it is all plain, it is all clear now. That's what happens when you iron the clothes as well. That's how it's taken. So they ironed out the conflict before the hearing. So always okay. And call up means to summon or to call. That is literally when you're phoning someone, or call up can also be to summon. That is, summon is to give a notice to somebody to appear. He was called up for the interview. And with that, we come to an end to 50 phrases. Now, I'm sure you wouldn't even have realized how just in just a short while, we've covered about 100 idioms and 100 phrases. Now, is this list it? No, this is not exhaustive. While these, of course, you must know. These are going to be the ones that you can't partake with. ये तो आने ही आने हैं, but over and above this, anything that you keep reading and you keep evolving your literary bandwidth with is always a good idea. So please make sure that you are reading through, because in your examination, 1 mark can make a lot of difference, and nobody would know that better than you aspirants who are already preparing for it. We're starting a series wherein I'm going to be coming in at 6 p.m. every Monday for the next 7 weeks, picking up all of the important topics that are required for your IBPS and other law officer exams as well. Of course, we won't be able to cover the exhaustive syllabus that we have, but we'll at least try to make sure that we know the important stuff that is going to be asked in your paper. This is only a direction. This is only a slight bit of hand holding. The remaining preparation will have to, of course, be done by you. So this was my attempt to be able to have a small evening rendezvous of about 100 idioms and proverbs with you, and hoping that these are going to stay with you, and not just these, you're also going to keep learning more. So these were the ultimate expression, 100 expression arsenals is how I wish to call it, designed exclusively for the law exams. I mean, if you're facing your SEBI, RBI, NICL, IBPS, these will help you understand the paper better, eliminate confusing options, and clearly boost the score. And that is exactly what we all want. Is that not it? Thank you so much for giving me your valuable time. If you like this video, please do hit the like button. Share it with all of your like-minded friends who are also preparing and would also require some nudge, some help. If there's any specific video that you wish I should be making, please do write in the chat box. And if you like the video, please do go comment so that I can be motivated and I can come up with something more interesting the next time. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.